Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say Kol Halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakah Kodash. I want to send double honors to the apostles, bishops, elders of Great Millstone. I want to send much peace, love, and salutations to Yakim out there pushing the word of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai and sincerity and truth. It's the brother Ariella. And this is just circling back to everything that's going on right now in the news. I'm going to call this Captain Kirk, civil unrest, and more Edomite hypocrisy because of or more Edomite victimhood, something like that. Because, you know, right now it's just extremely annoying listening to these Edomites complain about every fucking thing, thinking that they're the victim of the world. But they're going to utilize this. The elites are going to utilize this to create more chaos, so they can push more of their draconian agendas. Now, these things are highlighted in the scripture, that we were going to be in these times where people were going to hate each other, come against one another. And so we understand that this is biblical prophecy, and it must needs be so. But right now, what we're seeing is Babylon the Great, the American Edomite, is isolating himself, right? Particularly the American Edomite that's age, probably 27 to 55. Those particular Edomites are isolating themselves from the rest of the world. And we know that's going to culminate in the War of Armageddon, and for these other nations to team up against Babylon the Great and spew fire on her. And even the current 10 horns, some of those nations are going to come against the whore that rideth upon the beast, like we read about in Revelation, the 17th chapter. But what we're going to see coming up, or what we are seeing coming up, is a push by the elites in the media to put these Edomites on the, basically put them on the offense and say, we got to get rid of everybody that's coming up against us. We're under threat. In the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter and the 12th verse, it says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. All right, and that's what we're seeing, man. We got people that's looking at this dude, Captain Kirk's death, and they're incensed in anger, and they feel like it's a threat to general white people. And then you have people on the other side saying he was a hate monger. He's the reason why why people can't come together. I'm not saying he should have died, but like Chris Rock said, I ain't saying they should have did it, but I understand. I ain't saying he should have killed her, but I understand. So you have that sentiment going on, and it's creating a feud. And somehow, in some way, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans have been thrown in the middle of it with threats of church shootings. Somebody said they're going to kill 20 black babies. They're going to shoot up the historically black colleges and universities, the BCUs, however you call it, whatever the fuck. They're going to shoot up those black schools. Somehow you guys have been thrown in there. All right. And so these things were spoken about in these last times to come around and happen. All right. But I'm going to play. I got a few clips I'm going to play. And we'll get some scriptures to highlight these things. And Lord willing, this is edifying. Let me play this.
Making him out to be a grifter. Even the Oxford Union president gleefully celebrated the death of Charlie. And now on the right, people want pure vengeance. Vengeance like you've never seen before. Which is why we need to see on the wider perspective what this really means for America. Utah Governor Spencer Cox called it a political assassination, but his words carried a deeper warning.
Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say.
And as you see the hypocrisy come out of these Edomites, when you had a person like Medgar Evers, or a person like Fred Hampton, who was killed in his own bed, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King assassinated in front of his family, just like these other political leaders. And there's political leaders in the Latino community that the same thing has happened. Same thing happened to the Native Americans. How they was raped and killed in front of their children, just for land grabs, political grabs, and everything like that. But when this guy, Captain Kirk, who was extremely minimal, very, very minimal, no one knew about this dude like that. We follow this stuff all day. But the general public didn't know who the hell Charlie Kirk was. Like I said in the chat, Charlie Kirk is like Nipsey Hussle to black people. It's out of a sudden Nipsey Hussle is some great black Negro, and there was some great person for the community. You niggas didn't listen to none of his music. No one knew who the hell Nipsey Hussle was, except for a few small marginal group of people. But after he died and got put on a T-shirt, now he's immortalized, or and the same thing with this Charlie Kirk. And Esau's using this as a ploy to take things over, bro, on a whole nother level, to get you off the internet, to control the narrative, and move things onto the next stage of the mark of the beast systems.
Can bring back Charlie Kirk.
At the FBI press conference following the capture of Tyler Robinson, he then went on to say ominously it was a watershed moment for the country.
History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country.
And that begs the question, what's next? What kind of watershed moment is this? Barbara Walter has spent decades studying how countries slide into civil wars, analyzing over 200 conflicts worldwide. Her research suggests America has all the warning signs of a society primed for a period of heightened violence. According to data published in her best-selling book How Civil War Starts, America's democracy score has dropped. That then puts the country in what some researchers call anocracy, the danger zone where countries are vulnerable to political violence. Now, people will always naturally disagree on when this started happening and which side of the political spectrum is primarily to blame. And it's no secret that the US political system swings like a pendulum from Democrat to Republican. But
and we always talk about Revelation, the 13th chapter, 11th verse, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. We talk about how these two horns represents political powers, or powers that be, that the elite can draw from. They use the Democrats or the liberal side, they use the conservative side to shift the mindset of the people to get whatever they want passed. And if you've been looking at the Trump administration, all of the talking points that they utilized to get elected, they've reneged on. Everything is becoming more digitized, okay? And your rights are steadily being stripped away in the same type of way that they said the Democrats would do. Okay? Nothing is changing. This is the same things that they did all the way back in the Roman Empire. All right? All right? And so now they're using the same political forces to get what they want done. And it's just creating even more and more chaos. All right? So that's what he's saying. They're utilizing the left and the right. And it's going to cause nothing but a spiraling, chaotic situation.
Actually disagree on when this started happening and which side of the political spectrum is primarily to blame. And it's no secret that the US political system swings like a pendulum from Democrat to Republican. But research from the University of Southern California indicates that each side is now further apart than the early 1900s. In fact, America has been more polarized for a longer period than any other major democracy on the planet. In the kind of conditions the US might be heading for, evidence suggests that the annual risk for civil war conflict reaches 4% per year. That seems low at face value, but consider that's a compound risk of 40% over 10 years, and suddenly it doesn't look so small anymore. Take Yugoslavia. In the 80s, it was described as one of the largest, most developed and diverse countries in the Balkans. Different ethnic groups lived in the same neighborhoods, went to the same schools, intermarried freely. It had been a functioning multi-ethnic state for decades. Then the economy started falling apart, and by 1991, Slovenia and Croatia were declaring independence. US intelligence predicted Yugoslavia.
And the same thing is happening here, where the economy is starting to fail. Inflammation is affecting the lower class groups even more. The opportunities and chances for having that good American dream life is diminished. And now what do you have is you have this melting pot of people over here that have all these different types of religions, political views, all these different ethnic groups, right? And it's a powder keg for what? For dissent and war. Okay? And so it talks about a divided kingdom. All right? It talks about a divided kingdom. In Daniel 2 and 41 it says, "And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes part of potter's clay, and part of iron. Now, when you read this chapter, it's talking about these different kingdoms. Okay, from the Babylonian kingdom, the Persian, the Greeks, and then the Romans. And now we're reading about the extension of that Roman Empire. Okay, so it says the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, right? The strength of their military might to be able to control the world. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, right? So it's going to be iron, but it's going to be mixed with miry clay. So the kingdom is going to be divided. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. This is and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. It's going to be a melting pot, mixed ethnic groups. But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So as these political tensions build and everything like that happens, it ferments what? Civil unrest, civil war, problems. All right? And the elite wants this chaos to happen because they believe that out of this chaos, they'll be able to fulfill their agenda of putting a jab in you, putting a chip in you. Not a jab, but a chip in you, a C-hip. Digitizing everything. Right? You're gonna own nothing and be happy, as they said at the WEF. All of these things are meant to be implemented out of the chaos of people killing one another, hating one another. It's like we need a solution. We need to find a way to find peace. Right? That's what they want to do. Okay?
Yugoslavia would cease to function as a federal state within a year, and will probably dissolve within 2, and that the violence would be intractable and bitter. Over the next few years, more than 100,000 people were killed and 2 million were forced to flee their homes. Neighbors who had lived peacefully together for generations started slaughtering each other. And you can question whether America is really comparable to other countries that had civil wars, but the basic pattern is developing. Countries don't usually collapse overnight, they break down slowly, then all at once, especially when foreign hostile countries do everything they can to make sure this happens. And singular violent events are proven to accelerate the trajectory, even in historical events as colossally huge as the fall of Rome and
boom. For the sake of time, I'm not going to watch this whole thing, but you can see all of these pieces coming together, and you can go watch this whole video. It's on the channel called Moon, why Charlie Kirk's assassination will start the coming civil war. And he goes through several different points, and they're very, very strong points. But those of us that follow understand the points that are going to be made. And he's just using historical context to show you that there's nothing new under the sun. But the point that I want to continue to highlight on is how divisive the situation is. You have one side from the left that's going to be like, oh yeah, he died, but F that dude. And then you're going to have the right say, how dare you guys? This is a problem with America. This is why America's falling apart. It's because of the way you guys feel. Look at and there's going to be a clash. And they're gonna put you so-called Negroes as the left. All of you are going to be you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are all going to be put on the side of the left, even though you don't even care about it and you're not even involved in any of it. Just understand that. So this was on Roland Martin's page. Stop whitewashing Charlie Kirk's hateful rhetoric. And so these are the narratives that are going to clash. In the midst of economic upheaval, geopolitical tensions that is happening all across the world, these things is what's going to continue to rise up. And you're going to see Esau become you thought he was complaining a lot. He's been complaining a lot for the last, 10, 15 years. It's going to be on a whole nother level of Esau pretending to be the absolute victim of society. I don't know why they're coming after us. And it's just, ugh.
Dare anyone say any of these things, and how dare you speak to it? And here's what just amazes me. The very people who say he was a free speech champion now don't want others to have free speech in criticizing what he and others have had to say.
Yeah, and so you see people getting fired from their jobs for, publicly saying they don't like the dude, F that dude, People, there's one kid that went up to one of the memorials that they had and pretend like he got shot in the neck. He got expelled from the university that he was at, and pretty much people in general are going to be canceled over this. And this is going to cause them to police the internet on a way higher level, especially as tensions increase and people start to get killed over this.
Roland, this is scary. And you and I are old enough, man, to remember huge figures in American history who were gunned down, struck down, military leaders, civil rights leaders. We are treating this 31-year-old podcaster, MAGA influencer, like he's Jesus Christ. So I come from the right. Why are my old colleagues and friends on the right doing this, Roland? Because the right wants a religious war. Let's just call it. They want a civil war. They want a holy war. That's why they're putting him up to be some Jesus-like martyr.
And they want you to think that it's the right versus the left. Really, it's higher up than that, right? It's really the elite of the Edomites that are putting this out there. Now, the story behind who shot this dude and how he did it. He was able to come in, pop the guy, get out of there undetected. Say they extremely had to be pretty freaking savvy to get out in this age of live streaming. Everybody's got their phones out. This guy was able to go in there, mark himself 200 something or more feet out, pop the dude in the neck, and leave out of there undetected. He wasn't an idiot. Seemed like a very professional hit, right? But then he gonna go make a phone call to his transgender or to his homo boyfriend and confess to him. What? But that's the story. I mean, we're supposed to believe that. That's the story we're supposed to believe. They're going to utilize this simply to move forward with their draconian laws. Where brothers always say, order ab chaos, right? All right. And so they just getting ready to get this thing going.
Absolutely. I mean, Glenn Beck literally came out and said he was a civil rights leader. Oh, my God, stop it. Stop it. I've seen people say, I've seen a lot of these videos, I'm leaving my church because my pastor did not mention him. This was a Christian warrior. And let's just be clear. You said it, white Christian nationalists. It's slaveholder religion. We heard a lot of this stuff during slavery, during Jim Crow.
And we've been telling you, bros, Esau wants to get back to that old style America where he was at the top, everybody else was at the bottom because he believes those were the good old days. When they talk about make America great again, they're just really talking about getting Edomites back into that power seat, that they had, in pre-1900s, in early 1900s, okay? And they want to get back to that but digitize it. They want to digitize it so it's locked in and nobody can get out of it. And we understand this is where we're going. That's why the scripture says that Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob, is the beginning of that which followeth. Because in his pursuit for complete global digital domination, he's going to destroy himself. Right? And everybody's going to come against each other. Everybody's going to fight. Everybody's going to pretty much just go to war with each other, and that's what we're literally watching. Right? This is 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 23. It says, then the trumpet will sound and sudden terror will grip the heart of everyone when they hear it. Friends will fight like enemies, and the earth and its people will be terrified. Rivers will stop flowing and stand still for 3 hours. Right? So, people are going to be going head up. This is a part of the race wars, class wars are going to be happening. All right. These are the things that's going to be happening. Like Elder Yashawamba mentioned this in one of his videos, how the Egyptians shall be against the Egyptians. And it talks about that in the book of Isaiah, I believe the 19th chapter. Right? Somebody can post that, whoever hears this. And I always make mentions of this. Throughout history, Edomites have always gone to war with each other. Always. Always, man. We talk about the Syrian wars, where all the Greeks was fighting amongst themselves, the Romans was fighting amongst themselves, the British fighting amongst themselves, British fighting the French fighting the Spanish fighting both. Okay. All right. The Revolutionary Wars, the Civil War. It's non-ending. It's non-ending. And here again, you're gonna have you have the World War I, World War II. It's basically Edomites. All right, and they're not gonna stop. They're perpetually gathered together for war, like it talks about in Psalms the 140th chapter. All right, but this is gonna be in the mix of economic upheaval and absolute craziness going on, right? So Esau has to position himself as a victim to justify all the craziness and the hell that he's about to bring on people. Right? So Luke 21:25 says, there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars. And we've been seeing that greatly. Right? With the level of blood moons, how the sun has been acting. Everything's off. And upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. We always talk about this perplexity. How people are going to be in economic toil. Okay? Let's get it real quick. Just to make the point, then we'll get back to a couple more clips, and then we'll finish up. Right? Let's get the root of this word appareo for perplexity, to be without resources, to be in straits, to be left wanting, to be embarrassed, to be in doubt, not to know which way to turn, to be at a loss with oneself, to be in doubt, not to know how to decide or what to do, to be perplexed. This is the chaos that's going to be created. A perplexity is going to be created. And out of that perplexity, people are going to beg for an answer. Okay? They're going to beg for an answer. And what's going to be the answer? MOTB systems. But because we have these different mixing pot of people, the people are not going to agree on which way to go. And so what are they going to do? They're going to fight. They're going to fight. They're going to battle. So these things are just going to constantly be getting ramped up. All right. Now here on Secular Talk, this dude been going in. So I'm going to play a little bit.
Charlie Kirk says gun deaths, unfortunately worth it to keep the Second Amendment. So literally just sharing what Charlie Kirk's position was with no added commentary whatsoever. And they go, fire him. Now, by the way, I should also point out, you want to talk about easy slam dunk court cases. If you're a teacher and you get fired for something like this, totally illegal, totally unconstitutional. There's case law on this, and the Supreme Court has deemed that protected First Amendment speech. This is like the government trying to crack down on you for you speaking your mind. They cannot fire you over this. It is very clear. Classic First Amendment case here. So they could easily get their job back. The question is, do they want to go through all the fucking trouble and the fuss and the money that it would cost to get their fucking job back? Right? Just absolutely disgusting. For years and years and years, the right just went off on the left for cancel culture and censoring and...
Right. This is the point that I wanted to highlight. I mean, this whole thing is actually pretty good. But I want to highlight this point of how both sides are doing the same thing. How he's saying years and years, if y'all remember, during the time of the jab, you couldn't say nothing. You get your page taken down if you even mention not getting the jab. You get fired if you didn't do it. It's like this extreme cancel culture. If you said anything about the jab or about the small hats, any disparaging comments, you're done.
Silencing people and look at these snowflakes shutting us down. Meanwhile, what's like the worst example they come up with? Oh, a bunch of college kids are trying to make it so Ann Coulter can't give a speech at a university. That was the extent of fucking left-wing cancel culture. The right-wingers are like, how about I get you fired? How about I get you fired? How about I ruin your life? How about I threaten you? How about you get arrested? Hang on for that. It's coming. I got one for you. It's coming in a little bit. Here's a guy named Ian Yeager. He says, liberals can't stand a difference of opinion, so they will cancel you. He said that in 2022. Here he is in 2025. I am calling on Barnes & Noble to remove all Stephen King books from their shelves after his post about Charlie Kirk. What happened? I thought liberals can't stand a difference of opinion. Apparently you can't stand a difference of opinion. Probably the most frustrating thing about conservatives is how many of them are genuinely too stupid to even understand that this is hypocritical because they genuinely cannot comprehend moral principles beyond me good, you bad. Exactly right. Senator Katie Britt went on Fox News and said, if you are out there and you are celebrating the political assassination of a...
And they're all pieces of shit. All of them. That's why it's time for the earth to remove the Edomite from being in the management position. Because underneath the Edomite banner is nothing but confusion, complaining, disease, warfare. You've had your time of ruling the earth is at an end. These nations are tired of you, and I'm gonna play a clip from Charleston White, and he hits it bang on. The earth is tired of the Edomite ruling left and right. It's just I'm tired of hearing you complain and incessantly be hypocritical about how much love and peace you want, but behind it is nothing but lies and treachery. Look at these Edomites just fighting amongst themselves. But then they'll tell you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that you're completely out of control. That you're the problem of society. Meanwhile, they blowing up everything all across the world. The whole damn genocide in Gaza. Collapsing governments in Venezuela, plotting on them. And other places. Literally propping up a terrorist organization in Syria. It's ridiculous. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans can't even get a damn loan. But they say pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You live your life in perpetual debt. Okay? You're the bottom rung of society. You're the laughingstock of society. Anytime you've ever had any type of significant leader be raised up, they shot them, killed them. Killed them. Or find a way to imprison them or make them be offskirting of society, to embarrass them, emasculate them. These people do not deserve to be the rulers of the world, man. And they've proven it. That's why the scriptures say you should know them by their fruit. The fruit of Edomite rulership has been nothing but rape, robbery, murder, arguing, complaining, disease, herpes. Okay? Extinct animals, endangered species. All right? It's just problems.
Of a man who is exercising his free speech, you should be held accountable. You should be fired, and that is the beginning and the end of it, full stop. So literally in the same sentence where she says, I support free speech, she says, you should be fired for your speech. As Jim Stewartson says, you cannot reason with this level of non-self-awareness. In other words, she's a fucking idiot. She's a low IQ idiot, and everybody engaged in this fucking crusade, it's the same goddamn thing. Low IQ morons, knuckle-dragging freaks. Pete Hegseth tells Pentagon staff to hunt for negative Charlie Kirk posts by service members. Several people have already been relieved of their jobs because their posts on social media, defense officials told NBC News. They are ideologically purging the entire military. Anybody who does anything but fawning praise over the dead right-wing propagandist is in trouble, is losing their job. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. This is hitting every area of society. Ready for this? Meet U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Ladnier, the Provost Marshal at Fort Eustis, Virginia. He has thoughts on the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and they don't seem in the least sympathetic. So this person is sending the information on this Lieutenant Colonel to the Charlie Kirk's murderers people, right? You ready for what he said? Literally everything this guy said is a direct quote of Charlie Kirk with no added commentary. Quote, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. MLK was awful. He's not a good person. He said one thing, he said one good thing he actually didn't believe. The Civil Rights Act, though, let's be clear, created a beast, and that beast has now turned into an anti-white weapon. I don't like the word empathy. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage. Every single thing he said here, directly quoting Charlie Kirk. That's it. No commentary, no, I'm glad he's dead, no, I'm with the shooter, no crazy shit like that. No, just, here's what Charlie said. And they're adding him to the Charlie's murderers list. Trying to ruin his life, get him kicked.
Right. So at the beginning of this clip that I took, if you go to the beginning, he shows a website where they're data banking all the people that make comments disparaging Captain Kirk, so that they can get rid of the, so they can ruin your life, take your job, just basically cancel you. This is the direction that we're going, and Esau's justifying it, and it's just going to lead to everyone fighting. Because once you start taking people's resources on a high level, you take a man in his sandwich, he will fight. Now, this Charleston White delivers truth bombs. It's on Cato Media 2.0. It's 18 minutes. I'm not going to play it all, but it's really good, man. I'm going to start here at this. Did I write down a minute marker? I usually write down a minute marker. Let me see. Did I? I forgot to write down a minute marker. Hopefully this is close enough. Play a little bit of this.
Check the records, white folk. I'm white boy educated. Never been taught in a black school.
Oh yeah, he makes a point about being light, and I have a similar background in that type of way, where I went to white schools, and when you're around Edomites like that, you learn how to deal with them, you learn how they talk, you learn their tendencies, especially if they're racist, and they're very easily to manipulate. And so everything he's saying right here is facts, because I still do it to this day.
I can't even remember having a black school teacher. I'm white boy educated. I've been going to school with white folks since the first grade. You think it's easy to play on the white boy that's into politics and history, especially if he in the race? It's easy to play on him with his ethnocentric ideologies and belief system. He's stuck on one side, and he think he right all the time. So it's easy to play on who think they right all the time. White people. It's easy to play. That's why everybody playing on the. And I just want to remind white people, your only friend in this entire universe on earth is your.
Right. So he makes a point that your only friend in the entire world is the black woman, mostly. But it's really niggas. Niggas are the only one that will apologize for white people for their history, their rape, robbery, and murder, and how they basically been able to develop this nation. All right.
Nobody else likes you. The Canadians, the Mexicans, nobody likes you. Even the English don't like you no more. and let me just tell you something, white America, your only ally are your. You don't have enough guns to win whatever race war you think you can win. Because while you mad at your China mad at y'all, how you think fentanyl getting into your country? How you think China have bought up almost 60% of real estate in the United States of America next to government buildings and main structures and entities? China then came in and bought up almost 80% of your beef and chicken, pork processing plants in your country. Everything is made in China, and President Trump is kissing China. China is putting lead in the toys. China poisoning y'all every which way. And then not only that, China is teaming up with all your enemies, helping Russia. And China said y'all better not f*** Russia. And China said they're gonna take Taiwan from y'all. Why is Kirk focused on y'all who don't hurt nobody but they're not even into these this America? And now Russia owns most of your beef processing plants too. Russia been coming in here spying on y'all. Y'all was just hollering Russia was meddling into the elections. And Russia is defying everything President Trump said. Everybody got their weapons pointed at the United States of America. You don't.
And that's what's going to culminate in this war. Now we read this. I'm not going to go and read them all, but we read about Joel, the 3rd chapter, how the those that are weak say that I'm strong. We read, like I mentioned earlier, Revelation the 17th chapter. The 10 horns shall hate the whore. We read about in Habakkuk the 2nd chapter how the shameful spewing. Right? I'll read this one. Habakkuk 2:16. Right. Thou art 15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, but that puttest thy bottle to him and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Right? Thou art filled with shameful glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. So now that these nations that they've come, they've dealt with America, they've played into the political and economic system of America. Now they've utilized those things, gotten their own positions, and they're going to turn it right around on America. And it's going to lead to all these nations basically destroying themselves. When you read in Revelation the 18th chapter, once Babylon the Great goes down, the nations are going to mourn, because the whole system is going to collapse and be malfunctioned.
You don't have no more friends, America. You think Israel your friends? They over you too. They the one did the 9/11 tax on you to bully your government. So what the is Kirk running around acting like the is the problem? The ain't affecting nobody but, and the problem makes plenty of money for Wall Street. Isn't the prison industrial
making complete sense? The problem you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans really doesn't affect the infrastructure, the global economic, geopolitical, and economic infrastructure of Esau. But they blame you because you're the apple of the Lord's eye. And then the problems that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans have in America, they profit from it. They profit from it. From insurance write-offs all the way up to the prison industrial complex. And you're at the front lines of all these militaries. And so you do all the grunt work.
complex on the stock market. So what the is you complaining about your for? And they bring in so much money with all this free prison labor. Cause you're talking about Kirk. And white people, he ain't your problem. Don't even interact with white people no more to call problem. Don't target white girls like we used to. When I was a kid, we target y'all. I went to jail for killing a white man. We used to target white people before gangbanging showed up. And you have allowed 99 tongues into America, and all of them don't go with your laws and your customs and your culture. When you close on Christmas, them Chinese.
And this is why I read Daniel's 2nd chapter. They've mingled themselves with the seeds of men.
Them Arab and Palestinian stores be open. And I just want to say this, white America, if y'all feel so f***ed up about Charlie Kirk dying in front of his family, how can y'all still turn your ear and your nose away from Israel and they blowing up hospitals with children in it? And we seeing that on TV. We seeing the agony of the Palestinians in Gaza, and now this one white man gets. What about all them people over there? So don't come with us with that white privilege, sympathy y'all got, and y'all ain't got no white guilt about nothing, never. I remember Mike Brown died. I remember white people made mockery of Eric Brown, the big fat guy. that couldn't breathe. Y'all made jokes about that, and that man died in front of his kids. Y'all made jokes about that. Y'all made jokes about Trayvon Martin. Y'all made jokes about Eddie Gray, or the kid in Baltimore. What the f*** are y'all? Y'all got a short-term memory span, white people. I lose everything to keep speaking against y'all. I lose everything to show the hypocrisy of you white.
Yeah, so, you know.
Give a f*** about Kirk.
Now, you can go watch this, like the whole thing, and but the whole point of it is just the hypocrisy of the Edomites is disgusting. But it's going to lead to his downfall. His pride, really, his pride, right? Pride coming before destruction. And so we're going to see this man move forward with civil unrest. We'll try to pitch in like he's the victim, and then move forward with all these laws that's going to lead up to wanting to do the MOTB and get people like this off the internet, get us up off the internet, get us up off the streets. All of these things are getting ready to happen, man. So we're moving quicker and quicker. And all I can say is, hey, man, call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakah Kodash. All right. Double honors once again to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. I got to get back to work. Much peace, love, and salutation to Yaki. I'm out there pushing the word of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, sincere and true. Shalom.